Calculating your due date. It always spins people out that the day you miss your period, you're technically already 4 weeks pregnant. This is because pregnancy starts from the first day of your last period. If you have a 28 average day cycle, you would find your due date by counting 40 weeks from the first day of your last period. If you have a longer or shorter cycle, you can count 36 weeks from the day in which you were expecting your period to start. If you know when you likely conceived, you can count 38 weeks from this date. This way of working out your due date is just an estimate. A more accurate way is by ultrasound scan between 10 and 14 weeks pregnant. Usually these happen at 12 weeks pregnant. Evidence shows that when ultrasound dates are used over using the last monthly period date, the number of post-term births, those who are over 14 days after the due date, are reduced. In general, ultrasound dating is more accurate in predicting the birth date than counting from the last monthly period. But it is still only an estimate and may not always be accurate. A recent study of women who conceived by IVF and so knew exactly when their egg was fertilised found that the 12-week ultrasound scan consistently put their estimated due date earlier than it should have been by an average of 3 days. In another study, a group of mothers measured their hormones daily from before they became pregnant. So again, they knew exactly when each woman ovulated, when the egg was fertilised, and when the embryo implanted in the womb. The research showed that there was a difference in length of a pregnancy between mothers with different length cycles. If your period is longer than the average of 28 days, you are likely to have pregnancies that are a bit longer than the average, and the opposite for those with shorter than average cycles. In this study, the average time from ovulation to birth was 38 weeks and 1 day, and 90% of the mothers in this study had given birth by 40 weeks after they ovulated. If you know when you ovulated or when you conceived, maybe because of taking your basal temperature or if you conceived by IVF, then counting 38 weeks from there may give a more accurate due date than counting from the start of your last period. You are full term between 37 weeks and 42 weeks, so your baby is most likely going to be born between this time. Keep this in mind when thinking of your due date. I would encourage you to think of it as, I'll have my baby here by 42 weeks, rather than your baby is due on 40 weeks. I would encourage you to tell people your due month too, or give them a later date than what you get at scan. This will help relieve any pressure as you approach your due date.